So today is February 8th, 2019. This video is for posterity's sake and a message to the crazy ones, the creatives that live in paradox and want to find harmony between paradox and duality, who know that risk-taking is not a safe thing, that if you're going to go to uncharted territories, there aren't going to be any bridges. There aren't going to be any staircases to make things easier. You're not going to be able to prove that you can do it. Because when you're doing the impossible, there is no evidence that it's possible until you've done it. And let this just, be that message before, the risk provides its reward, that there is no evidence that psychology and technology can work in a way right now that there is evidence to provide that you can get from point A to point Z. Because right now, we only have point A to point K. And the risk is too much for people addicted to evidence. And I see now that, even academia, they are, at this point in time, they're corrupted. Not because of their ideas, not because they're bad people, but because of their ideology. Their infrastructure for curating ideas is based in bias. They have a certain amount of control in the world and prestige, and they don't want to lose control. So what happens is the control they have becomes the status quo, and challenging that status quo challenges their control in a way that undermines the way they have control in a world that favors duality over paradox, when in actuality, duality and paradox need to be in harmony. If they're not in harmony, paradox becomes bad. We become more and more unaware of paradoxes throughout time, and we get stuck in infinite loop cycles that our ego tells us, is just part of the journey of advancing things. But it's not. It's really not. It just breaks things more and more over time, and that just raises more questions on how to fix it, when the solution is to embrace paradox. Not embrace it over duality, but alongside duality, because duality plus paradox is wisdom. Knowledge plus action is wisdom. Knowledge doesn't lead to wisdom. Knowledge and action leads to wisdom. And sometimes when you have explored the limits of knowledge, you need to take an action beyond knowledge to discover new knowledge. And this is where we are. Right now, I don't live in a world where psychology and technology have integrated. And there is lots of resistance because there's not enough evidence to get there. When the fact of the matter is knowledge is too siloed. I get arguments that, this isn't founded with enough evidence to be real, yet the people who use it are either stupid and losing money without knowing, or they are using it in a way that provides results with no evidence, direct scientific evidence onto how the results are provided. And, materialist science sums it up to, some sort of mystery of the universe that, luck or some shit, like based on whatever their religion is. And the thing is I thought that we would just be replacing psychology with something better. And now I realize this is a tool that will replace the entire scientific method, that can embrace paradox and harmony and let go of this addiction, this safety net of evidence that is so self-limiting, that right now I understand sounds crazy, is believed to be absolutely impossible. But there is no such thing as absolute truth. This is the mental delusion that even the psychologists of the world have bought into, hook, line, and sinker. Absolutism is the most powerful religion in the world, and science is the biggest perpetrator of it when they are addicted to the material reality. It's not that the immaterial doesn't exist. It's that the materialist science don't have a way of providing evidence with material tools. And that's why their science is limiting. I know this. I also know the value of things as solutions and results. And there's not always a way to provide evidence of a solution or a result if it's never been tried before. On an individual level, this is much more common. But on a macro level, there's many more people to argue the point otherwise. And this is where the majority has democratized knowledge, democratized truth. When true and false isn't objective, it's subjectivity that a majority has decided is an objective and said this is so throughout all time. When if that was really the case, materialist science would be completely false because of quantum science. The contradictions are abundant, but in a world that focuses on hypocrisy more than contradictions, they're never going to believe how their religion is wrong. And that, my friends, is how the world went from a religious world to a scientific world to a scientific religious world. And on the other side of things, I hope that this message brings hope in the next cycle when people are taking a risk to push. Perhaps paradox is the one that becomes, an abuse of majority, and, harmony is waning. And perhaps this can bring hope to those trying to bring balance to paradox with duality in the future. Because the opposite of crazy is still crazy. And a crazy idea is only crazy until it works.